Hello, my name's Asher. I haven't really done a video like this, so I'm sure none of you realized how hideous I am, but um, I kind of wanted to make this video to introduce and contextualize this project I've been working on called the Blashco Music Archive. Forever I've been kind of into music and like probably as much as like a musician, but I just happen to not ever follow that track of life. So I've always made these like conceptual like mixes, unreleased albums out of bootlegs. I've always been really into bootlegs and just the unheard. And recently, YouTube has kind of changed their algorithm. I don't know how recently it was, but where now they can release, you can upload albums, and what happens is there might be a copyright claim, but basically if the video gets popular enough to be monetized, all the ad revenue will go to the copyright holder. So I was like, okay, well maybe it's the time to start this, start sharing some of these, and I just kind of started experimenting with what I could get away with, honestly. And yeah, so some of them have become a little pretty popular and do have ads. I've discovered when I was going through this to make this video, and I clicked on some of them and I realized, oh, there's one of them had an ad, and then you had to watch the whole ad, and then you had an ad where you could skip it. But it was just like, wow, okay. But anyways, so I've released probably 150 to 200, somewhere in that window. Basically, my criteria is if it's not already on YouTube, and if it's not already available on Spotify. I felt like that meant it was hard enough to listen to that I could, that was my justification or my criteria. So anyways, some of this stuff, like my philosophy with art is that it wants to be consumed. Videos want to be watched, paintings want to be, looked at, and music wants to be listened to. And if it can't be, then it gets sad. So I want to make this music kind of happy. I don't own any of the rights to any of the albums, and if anyone wanted me to take them down, I would. No, in general, the response has been pretty positive. Some of the videos have gotten popular, and some are still lingering at like 30 views or whatever. It doesn't matter to me. I don't monetize any videos on my channel. Basically, what I've uploaded is like some of my favorite conceptual mixes that I made, but I had to recompile most of them, and some of them have some pretty cool stories. So that's the introduction. This is the first video I've made, so that is like I'm looking at the camera talking, really, that I've ever made. So I got my geek shit. You got to have your geek stuff behind you. So this is some of my geek stuff, and this is like mainly my music geek stuff, so I've found it befitting. But anyway, so I'm gonna just give you some of my 15 favorite albums. I'm just winging this, as you can probably tell already. I just have this. If you want to see, that's what I'm looking at. Not much. They're kind of not really like they are in an order, but I didn't spend much time on the order. So take that for what it is.
I don't believe in the internet. I don't believe in the world wide web. I don't believe in the internet. I don't believe in the internet.
So that song is actually by our first artist that we're going to talk about, which is number 15, Eek Bandits. So, and I went to college with them at the College of Santa Fe. It consists of Benito and Mike. Anyways, there was other people in the band, but I went to college with them, and I remember when this album was released, we had this thing called quad stock, where the quad was just like the gathering area. But it was like all the bands, this was an art school, and there were a lot of bands, and basically all the bands were playing, and it was kind of like, it was like a music festival where there were different stages and different venues and different time slots and all that stuff. And I remember like getting drunk and passing out, but setting an alarm for Eek Bandits. It's like I knew when they were playing, and I was like, I'm going to that show. And I woke up half drunk, ran across, you know, and I remember right before the show, they just grabbed this big CD case, actually like this, but full and totally not even labeled. I don't think it was labeled. But yeah, and he's just like, who wants CDs? And, you know, so and he ends up, anyways, they're just like a really good indie rock outfit. I love some of their stuff. So that album that they released at Quadstock was called Oops Burglars. And after the whole College of Santa Fe thing, they released 2 other albums called Quat Album and Sold Out in Romania. Both of those were kind of unfinished. And anyways, here's a couple songs. I really like Meow Kitten, the last song on Oops Burglars.
Well, you're the kitten of my dreams, but you're as catty as you seem to be.
And then Clementine's Gray.
Well, I want to paint you pictures with my words, but they'll never be as cool as origami birds. Like I already miss you, a Clementine.
Really good stuff, totally worth checking out. Number 14. Okay, here we go. This is one of the more popular ones. It's called At Home by John Lennon.
People say I'm crazy, doing what I'm doing.
And actually that's based on the title of the bootleg that I bought, and I gave it to my mom, and we lost it. Somehow we lost it, sadly. But it was a 2-disc set called At Home, and it had 1 disc of guitar demos and 1 disc of piano demos. Anyways, they were recorded in the last year of his life, and it's really just the best quality of these demos. It's intimate. It's kind of, the pianos are a little muddy, but it kind of sounds like you're just kind of sitting in Lennon's living room, you know, and he's whipped out his guitar. It's pretty good. And a lot of people really like it. I really like the last song, which is a medley, but when he starts whistling at the end, it's really, to me, I don't know why, it's kind of emotional, but maybe that's just me. But number 13 is the alternate versions of the songs from Summer Is Gone by Bill Baird. Actually, okay, so this is the first one I can show something. This is, hopefully it's framed right. Can't even see what I'm filming, but this is, this guy Bill Baird is really good, and I feel like I think he has a decent following now, but I mean, decent, you know, like people like me. But anyways, this is Summer Is Gone is one of his coolest albums. It's like, he released it as this project to kind of like, basically you'd go to this website that I don't think exists anymore, sadly, and based on your time and location, it would play a different mix of the album. He had recorded many different, I think at least 15, I don't know how many, but he recorded many different versions of each song. There's 10 songs on the album that vary completely. I mean, some of them, like, there's one where he has like he gets a female singer to do a female version of some of the verses, and
The end is cold, or so I'm told. Old days of yore, a boring fade.
it's not just like, ooh, I took out the hi-hat, you know, it's like totally different versions. And so the idea is that no one would listen to the same album, because it's kind of like there's that many, you know, this times this, you know, that many versions that you know, it would take forever to hear the exact same album. So anyways, this is kind of a longer story, but most of you guys know about Bandcamp, and Bandcamp is like a kind of musician-facing marketplace where you can buy albums from the musician. They take a small percentage, but when COVID hit, they started doing this thing called Bandcamp, like First Friday or something, where 100% of what you spent, 100% of what you know of the purchase price went to the musician. So they didn't take anything. They didn't take 0.5% or anything. And so I got in touch with Bill Baird, and I was like, hey, I'll give you $100 to, you know, go through all these mixes and make me an alternate version of the album. And which he did. And I mean, which is kind of cool that, like, that's what the internet's allowing us to do. Like, I decided, I was like, okay, to me it's worth $100. And to him, he decided, okay, it is a lot of work to go through all that stuff. But he might have already had ideas of which ones were his favorite alternate takes. But anyways, he sent me a full alternate version of the album and then 2 extra other alternate versions. And then I reached out to him, like, I mean, I think it was like a year and a half later or something. And I was like, can I put it on YouTube? And he said, sure. So anyways, for a while, there were very few people who were able to listen to these versions of the song. Oh, this one's easy. Okay, so I'm a huge fan of South Park. I think I own all their DVDs. I've actually made some videos that are a history of the last like 20 years, according to South Park commentaries, which is, if you're a fan of South Park, I would look that up. Basically, it's just, this is the soundtrack to South Park. I mean, Trey and Matt are so talented, and they do most of the music, and I think they do a lot of the actual like instrumental music too, which isn't on here, but they have a lot of breaks, and you know, then you get the full version of Gay Fish by Kanye West.
Been work that caudal fin for hours, but now I'm out and I'm free to love what I want. Be it yellowfin or bass or them trout in Vermont. I slap that marlin ass, make that grouper butt shake. I'll come to your house and have an orgy in your motherfucking fish tank. Motherfucking gay fish. I'm a fish, yo. Going on a gay fish. Now where I belong, girl. Making love to other gay fish.
You get like Feeling Good on a Sunday by Lord.
And I will push to tear down the walls. The spots you put me in. You're gonna push how hard you push to find a label that fits me. I'm feeling good on a Wednesday with a sparkling thoughts.
You get, my favorite one is probably the Bully song, because it's just so it's so emblematic of like this generation.
Let's all join together to try and make Bully kill itself. It'll be fun to see just how bad we can make it feel. Make Bully kill itself. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
I hate people who hate people, right? And anyways, so yeah, that one's great. It has a lot of good stuff on there, and it's South Park. So if you don't like South Park, you won't like it. But number 11 is Lisa Mitchell. I put this on here. I love this album, but I put this on here because that's not too many girls are on here, so don't want to be seen as sexist. So Lisa Mitchell, I can't remember what year, like 2008, she took like 7th or 6th, I don't know, in Australian Idol. But then she released her first album, and I remember in college we really listened to it a lot. We really liked it. It's a pop album. It's like, you know, but it's real pretty. And so this is just all of the outtakes. She released a couple EPs right around the same time, and then some bonus, you know, 2-disc versions with demos and stuff like that. So I just kind of picked the best of my favorite ones, and made an album. The last song on Welcome to the Afternoon is probably one of my favorite songs of all time. You're going to learn that I am a big fan of superlatives in this video, but anyways, it's called Time Means Nothing at All. Here, I'll play a little bit of it. It's really good.
Do you know that I spend my days walking the streets and lanes, looking through window panes and out of quaint cafes? Me and myself, we have an ongoing war. There is an ongoing love affair, giving up, keeping score.
Okay, so So we got number 10. This is kind of two of them. I did two kind of greatest hits of two Israeli artists, Israeli musicians. That's Shlomo Artzi and David Broza. The first one was Shlomo Artzi. My dad is grew up in Israel, and he listened to in the 80s, and that was when Shlomo Artzi was really popular, and he's actually probably one of my favorite 80s artists, and just across the globe. And then David Broza, after that, I kind of started getting into David Broza after my dad, told me, and I was like trying to get into more world music. And man, David Broza is good. And he's more of the 70s, so I did a best of for him.
אל תשאלי אם אני אוהב רק אותך לבדך לתמיד אני לא יודע מה יביא מחר לי לא אכפת.
But yeah, some really good stuff, and one of the most famous songs in the 80s in Israel is this one.
עד שישוב הים מזעפו לא נדע עולה לנו כמה זה עולה לנו כמה זה עולה לנו כמה זה עולה לנו.
Okay, number 9. We are now at number 9, which is I didn't even mean to do this, but it is a Beatles set. Basically, so this is disc 3 of Obscurities is the one I picked. So Obscurities is kind of like 3 discs of the weirdest stuff that the Beatles did. And disc 1 is John Lennon's like work tapes. So what a work tape is like exactly kind of what it sounds like, where a demo is a demonstration, right? It's still totally stripped down, but it's a demonstration of it. Whereas a work tape is like you're working through the melody, you might repeat, and then you can return to it and see what you like. You might try a bunch of different stuff, you might experiment with lyrics, but basically it's a lot harder to listen to. So the disc 1 is like mainly Strawberry Fields Forever. And then disc 2 is other demos that aren't like John Lennon's work tapes, and kind of radio interviews and not interviews, but like performances and goofs. And then disc 3 is just kind of like a grab all for all the other stuff. You get Paul McCartney messing around with what's it called? Oh Darling.
Well, when you told me that you love me,
And then you have this one song, the final version of What's the New Mary Jane, which was designed by John Lennon and probably Yoko Ono to be as painful to listen to as possible. That is my, I have not read that anywhere, but I mean, here, give it a listen.
She looks as an African queen. She's eating culture patties and cream. She tastes as Mongolian land. She's coming from Aldebaran.
And that song is like 8 minutes long. Okay. Number 8, we have Postmodern Blues. So this is JJ Pistolet. I think that's how you say it. And his name is Justin Young, and he is now like the head guy, the lead singer of the Vaccines. And he did a lot of stuff before the Vaccines that I would consider maybe solo stuff. Basically his stuff's really hard to find. If you look him up on Spotify, there's a couple songs as JJ Pistolet, But he released like quite a few songs. He released like one like CDR, which was just called 25 songs, and then he has other stuff too. And I found an archive of all his stuff, so I made the best of, which is my favorite one, which is called Postmodern Blues. Highlights are the song Postmodern Blues.
Half a mile high, a couple inches deep, the hollow uninspired, a company you keep, the narcissistic drone, the underhanded game is doubtful and alone, deluded all the same.
And I love the song Vintage Red. It's gorgeous. Really good love song, classic song.
You are everything to me, the last decree, the guarantee, and I would go back underground if ever you were not around. Your cashmere sweater, handwritten letter, you were blonde on blonde, but a whole lot better.
All right, number 7, here we go. So we're going to talk about mashups now, and I've been a big fan of mashups for a while, and this is something that is like exclusive to YouTube in terms of music consumption, or being able to listen to it, is like no mashups are on Spotify. Anyways, I follow this website called Booty Mashups. I followed it since I was in high school, and they do like a top 10 at the end of the year. But anyways, most mashups are bad, and most art is bad. 90% of everything is bad, right? And but when you find really cool mashups that like work really well, it's like, I don't know, it gives you this like either alternate universe version or just this like, here we go, it's totally different. One of my favorite ones is when you have the Ramones and Eric Clapton.
Hey, ho, let's go. Hey, ho, let's go. Hey, ho, let's go. Hey, ho, let's go.
I'm foaming in a straight line, to go through a tight ones, the kids are losing their minds, the blitzkrieg pop.
And here's another one I really love.
That I'm in love with you. You, soft and lonely. You, lost and lonely. You, just like heaven.
But here's a great one that's Olivia Rodrigo. It's a more recent one. Olivia Rodrigo and Patsy Cline.
You said forever, now I drive alone past your street. Red lights, stop signs, I still see your face in the white cars, front yards, can't drive past the places we used to go to, 'cause I still fucking love you, babe.
So anyways, all those are off of Mashed Taters 1 and 2. And then I also did a video game mashup where you take the soundtracks to video games and do, mashup. And that's called Mash 1-Ups. And there's also 2 of those. And there's some pretty cool stuff like Donkey Kong Country 2.
I'm a Ferrari, a Jaguar, switching 4 lanes with the top down, screaming out, money ain't a thing.
Bubble hard in the double off, flash the rings with the window crack, holla back, money ain't a thing.
There's Pokemon.
Touch it, bring it, pay it.
Hey, yo, let me take their ass back to the...
Touch it, bring it, pay it. Watch it, turn it, leave it, stop, format it. Touch it, bring it, pay it. Watch it, turn it, leave it, stop, format it.
There's Mario World.
The game is back, the aftermath chain is gone, the D's is chrome, the frame is black. So watch it lift up till the motherfucker bounce and break and knock both of the screws.
There's Animal Crossing. And the third kind of set of mashups I want to talk about is the guy who did Harry Potter Puppet Pals way back in the day. And he started doing like what I would call mashups based on nostalgia. And it's honestly some of the funniest music I've ever heard.
Some people call me the space cowboy.
Wicked wild, wicked wild, wicked wild, 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 wild west. Desperado, rough rider. No, you don't want nada, nada. There's 6 gunning this, brother running this. Buffalo, 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 no, 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 no.
Okay, number 6. So, the Shins for me kind of were one of like the first bands that I found where I was like, oh, okay, people are still making music I want to listen to. It isn't just 60s and 70s stuff. It's, you know. And so I've released quite a bit of the Shins, but probably the best one of all the stuff I've uploaded is basically just a live solo set. I called it Live from the Tundra, and it is just his voice it sounds like an album. It's really, really good. You can tell that not many people are in the audience, because I think it was like a really snowy night, and it sounds like there's like the people, and then you can hear like 1 or 2 people clapping every now and then. But he runs through. It was done in 2004, and James Mercer runs through all like basically the greatest hits from the first 2 albums.
You were no ordinary drain on her defenses, and she was no ordinary girl. Oh, inverted world.
Is okay, the Aladdin bootleg soundtrack, which is done by Howard Ashman and Alan Menken. And I guess so Aladdin, I'm not going to go into the whole backstory of it, but Aladdin used to be, when it was being conceived, it was a much different movie. Aladdin has a mom, and he has 3 brothers whose names are
Babcock, Omar, Aladdin, Kasim. 4 friends, none closer. Get mad, heck no sir. Not us 4 strong, a permanent team. 4 guys out pounding the pavements of Baghdad.
It was a very different movie. The arcs were different, and one of the main arcs was probably the whole, like, at least Aladdin's emotional arc is to make his mom proud.
Mom, I will try hard to make you proud of your boy.
So basically, this is the Aladdin bootleg soundtrack is kind of like the rough demo version of the original plot line. Raymond Scott, okay. All of the songs come from this. And Raymond Scott is a really cool guy. But basically, just to keep things concise, this is like probably... So what I did, Manhattan Research is the lab. That's the lab. This is an awesome set. But is the lab that he did. This is in the 50s and 60s when he's recording and creating these different pieces of technology that are creating music digitally. And probably one of the first, competent people to experiment with electronic music to the point where he was actually like making inventing the technology to record and create electronic music. And to fund it, a lot of them, there's a lot of ads. There's a lot of different, if you think of 50s and 60s ads with the, and all that stuff. He was doing a lot of that. And that was to fund it. So what I did was I kind of eliminated all those, and I made took the songs that were clear experimentations, that were projects that they were doing, that weren't for ads, that, basically just were not commercial. They were art. And I kind of made a track list out of it. And it's kind of like got to be one of the first, if not the first, electronic, quote, albums ever made. So totally awesome stuff. Okay, so the Unicorns. The Unicorns are one of my favorite bands, and they sadly kind of only released this one album, Who Will Cut Our Hair When We're Gone, which is an awesome album. If you haven't heard it, stop the video and go listen to it. It's great. It's about like learning about death when you're a kid. But anyway, well, it's about losing it. It's about a lot of stuff. But anyways, it's a really good album. But yeah, so I've released a couple stuff. They have quite a few bootlegs for a band that was together not that long, and the best one would be probably what I would call their second album in blashco world, is called When We Were Young, We Were Children. I just made that up. I don't know.
When we arrived in picturesque paradise, we lay on our backs and the open sky looked so nice. This is a place where your legs don't shake. Can't come back, I oughta swim and sink with the North Star.
Okay, number 2, 50 States by Sufjan Stevens. So, I got some stuff to show you. Sufjan Stevens has got to be one of the most prolific and ambitious musicians of our time. He has done everything from ballets to like orchestral, he does a lot of crazy stuff, and he is one of my favorite musicians for sure. And I think it was in 2004 or 2005, he had this idea to do a 50 states, do an album for each state, which is impossibly ambitious. I mean, to record 50 albums is like, I mean, man, that's only, there's a a countable number of musicians that have released 50 albums. But anyway, so the 2 that he officially released, it's kind of 3. The first one was Greetings from Michigan, and then the second one was Come On Feel the Illinois, which is one of my favorite albums of all time. And then the Avalanche is kind of outtakes from Illinois, which is, if you love this, you'll definitely enjoy this. Not quite as good, but I mean, it's still very, very good. Anyway, so even though there aren't enough, to make 48 more albums, there's enough of outtakes from that era to make one really, really good 50 States album. So there's a lot more outtakes from those 2 albums than I used, but I picked them, curated them to be as much about America or, the 50 states as possible. There's a couple mentions of Canada and a couple covers that at the time I didn't really know were covers, but, whatever. I think that it's a really good, intact album. It feels like a whole album. If Sufjan were to release it, I think that it would totally fit in with his catalog.
And if I live to be a man, will you comfort me again and again? There's a searching girl built in Vermont. Is it Hawaii or New Mexico? Iowa, Texas, take it all in. The Mormons in Utah, the money and gin. There's Pennsylvania, driving at night. South Carolina, what a delight. Dakotas and Kansas, piggy and pork. Jump on a train and drive to New York.
It ends with his great Majesty Snowbird, which is just such a beautiful song. Okay, so let's get into number 1. All right, here we go. This is called Wavelength of Goodbye, and it's by Tantric Picasso. And Tantric Picasso, one of the members of the bands, is one of my best friends named Matt. You know, way back when it was being recorded, I made this documentary about the art in the digital age, kind of as like a student's response to press, pause, play. And I interviewed them, or a few of the band members, about this album. So I'm gonna just let them kind of introduce it.
Wavelength of Goodbye is a 77-track psychedelic journey which goes in and out of several different genres, several different musicians. It's a collaborative effort to make a statement.
An oversaturated album for an oversaturated music industry. I think it's more than just 7 records. It's Japanese noise pop to folkloric mystical music to
joke hip-hop tracks and like
proving shamans, Native American people, jams and tunes from other artists and collaborations, crazy rap songs. Einstein's theory of relativity is all going to be included in that album.
To well-crafted songwriting in which a 6-piece band is all putting in their arranged parts.
So basically, when that movie was being produced, I kind of was like, they had like a decent amount of the songs recorded, like probably around 50 to 60 in some version, maybe not complete, but recorded. And I remember figuring out a way to get it all dumped from that guy's iPod before iPhones, or it wasn't before iPhones, but it was on his when iPods were relevant. And we had to like get some app that would let you download. And I downloaded all the songs, and I ended up with probably the biggest collection of these songs, because the band ended up breaking up shortly thereafter, totally not releasing any of the songs from these sessions. Okay, so songs that I love from it. I love Some Things Never Change.
I got a tendency to worry about things. Some things never change.
I love Ivory Elephants. I love Buddha Buddha Pyramid Party. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you found some good music. Everything's going to be linked below, and I will link any relevant links to get you directly to the artists, if possible.